Yo, we're live.
And we're back for
Beat you,
another
motherfucker.
episode of Bodybuilding and Business.
Don't look at my dog like that.
You told me to look at him.
That was before we're recording.
Listen, I hit the button already. I had to wait until it started to record before I could take my eyes off the machine and look at him.
But you were mirroring his thickness, though.
I was admiring his thickness. Yeah, he's got good thickness, that guy.
Yeah, he's not fat.
He's thumpering right now.
He's not fat.
Thumper.
He's just big boned.
You know what movie that's from?
Thumper. Yeah, Bambi.
Dude,
right?
I think so. I knew it's a cartoon.
It's a bunny. I know that.
Yeah, it's a bunny in the cartoon. I think it is Bambi.
I'm 90% sure.
I can strongly say it's been a full 25, if not more, years since I've seen Bambi.
I mean, sure. Mine probably close, if not more.
Yeah, probably a little more. But
Can I look this up?
Bambi?
I'm really curious.
Or Thumper?
Now. Thumper.
Yeah, look it up, dude. I think it is Bambi. Starting off with movies again.
It's what we do best.
Just
man.
because
we
Diesel.
just gotta stick with what we do.
Just because Diesel was.
Thumper, Bambi.
Yeah, see? Bambi.
Damn, dude. That's actually freaky.
That's got to be one of the oldest Disney movies,
Probably.
if I had to guess.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think about shit like that all the time. Not Thumper in general, but
Disney movies?
well, think about that. I literally have not seen Bambi. It has to be at least,
Like I just said, 25
at the very
years.
least, yeah, like probably not even elementary school, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think third, fourth grade I was watching Bambi.
No.
So yeah, you're right. It was probably for me 25 to 30 years ago. Okay. So the amount of shit that we just have in our heads, right? I'm going to sound like a big stoner, which I'm not, but the amount of just useless information that is stored.
Yeah,
imagine if we didn't have that in there.
I know.
All the movie quotes, all the songs, like
all the things we've learned in the past 25 years, and Thumper from Bambi stayed in there.
yeah.
Why?
And the fact that we both went right to Bambi.
Why? It makes no sense.
And I'm not even going to lie. Aladdin, seen a million times. Lion King, seen a million times. Every other Disney movie, right?
I've still watched
Bambi, I can't, dude, my parents didn't push Bambi on me. Maybe
Never.
I watched it a couple times as a kid.
Yeah. I don't think I watched it
stuck.
more than once or twice as a kid.
Well, maybe it's
wrong
one of those
because
fucked up Disney movies that have a ton of subliminal messages, and that's why it's in
I
our-
think because the deer got shot in the beginning, my parents were like, you're not going to watch this that often.
Bambi's mom, I think, dude.
Yeah. We didn't like-
R.I.P.
Your drink is really dark.
Those are the blueberries
yeah.
and blackberries in my old fashioned.
They're
I switched it up today.
melting. I'm still having a stroke if anyone was curious.
Yeah.
Can't speak.
Maybe it's an aneurysm, dude. It's like slow,
No,
steady.
I've had one of those. No bueno.
Maybe it's the buildup, dude.
That is very crazy, though, that after 25 years, something that's silly like that still sticks in our head. I've learned a lot of things in the past 25 years. I learn something new every day, and I still remember Thumper.
You know what you
from Bambi.
haven't learned how to do yet?
Fix my chord, talk. Something about
Talk is a good one,
something that I'm doing right now.
or something you're not doing.
Drink? I don't know.
Bowl.
I'm not a bad bowler.
No, you were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what's actually funny, though, is you would be way better if you weren't so, like, proper about it.
I wasn't so uptight. Listen, dude. I played in my competition.
Okay. Yeah. You did well. You did very well.
If you guys were even...
I think I won one, you won one, Anth won one.
Yeah.
Right?
If you guys were even better, I would have bowled better.
But I'm saying, like, you went
just having a
so
good time.
squared on. If you just loosened up a bit, you would have you've been all right.
Maybe. I was curving some at the end there.
Yeah. Big Meech fucked you up, though.
She messed everybody up.
Yeah, she was good.
She's a good bowler.
My wife's pretty much good at anything she does. Kind of don't like admitting that, but it's the truth.
We won't tell her that you said that. We'll cut that part out of the podcast.
Other than what she just got in trouble for.
Oh, not good at that. Overrated.
Yeah, people don't need to know about it.
No. So I had a little thing I wanted to discuss real quick. I've noticed it over the past couple of weeks. And
There's medicine for it.
No.
Oh.
Not me personally.
Okay. Just letting you know.
Thank you. I don't think. Okay, maybe because this isn't directed at as many bodybuilders as it is average people, but it is also people in the bodybuilding community as well. I don't think people know how to lunge.
I agree, but I'm going to say that I also think that it is also a lot of bodybuilders. But there's also this. I don't think a lot of people understand just the biomechanics of the body in general.
No.
And I don't think that they really know what they're supposed to be getting out of a lunge.
Yeah. And I actually just talked about this with somebody earlier today about how you don't need athleticism to be a bodybuilder. Like
Correct.
There's zero athleticism needed to be a bodybuilder. To put on
Look, you're a bodybuilder.
I'm very athletic though. To put on muscle mass, you don't need to be athletic, right? You don't need to be fast in order to squat. You don't need to be able to throw a football over those mountains over there in order to bench press. Uncle Rico. In order to bench press. Like there's no correlation between those two things. So like part of me thinks like how do I say this without sounding cocky or my athletic background led me to kind of just understand that before I read a book about it, before understanding the biomechanics of a lunge pretty fast, right? I don't think people, and maybe it is because there's no athletic background and you don't need it, or it's just people just don't understand biomechanics in general. I
think a lot of people, even bodybuilders who are listening, don't even know what biomechanics mean.
That could be true too. Maybe I give people too
much credit. I'm not even trying to talk shit. I just think that a lot of people see and they just try and mimic.
Right.
But they don't really have an understanding of why and how. Somebody probably died.
That sounded really close.
That happens all the time over here, dude.
Out west?
Yeah, out west, dude. People get shot, dude.
Wild, wild west.
Compton, dude.
So I saw, and this is why I brought this up. I've seen, and then once the image got stuck in my head of this a certain person lunging, and now I'm so hyper
fixated
on it that I keep looking at other people while they're lunging, like, and seeing what they're doing, because it's also not just the lunge. It'll be like a lunge is a very easy one, but like a lunge, a single leg step up, a Bulgarian,
a split squat.
I keep seeing it. I don't know if people realize the force of your movement is coming from your front planted foot. And that's the leg that's working. Like I see the person, this image that's burned into my brain now was a person, and man, I wish you guys know.
Oh.
I wish we had a board or a video or something.
Of this person in specific doing it incorrectly, or of somebody doing it correctly?
Any way for me to show a split squat right now. So I'm not talking.
Split squat? Okay.
Lunge, whatever.
All right.
That I'm not talking the words into their imaginations.
Okay.
But I saw someone.
You've said that.
Legs split.
Okay.
Pushing off of both legs. And essentially just forcing their body.
I'm trying to visualize that.
Like dropping their body down and then forcing up from both legs. Okay. So their back leg that is bent and on their toe.
They're literally just kind of.
They're driving up from that back leg just the same. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, are your legs still working? Sure. And there's work and effort being put in. But
you're taking a lot from the movement and defeating the purpose of the movement.
Yeah. That back leg's just there for stability.
That's it.
The drive and force from the movement, both eccentric and concentric, are from that front leg.
So how do you explain a lunge to one of your clients?
It's a single leg squat with one leg for balance.
Okay.
I kind of would say the same thing I would say for a squat. Keep your chest up, keep your back neutral. Like I would explain it almost just like I would a squat, but you're only using one leg and your back leg is for balance.
Yeah.
You're still driving off the heel of that front foot. You're still like, you don't, now that we know, knees over toes.
I basically keep them where, but again, I guess I don't want to say keep bodybuilder out of the conversation, because like we both said already, a lot of bodybuilders are also doing not just lunges, but majority of these exercises incorrectly, right? Because they jumped too far ahead too quick. They're just trying to mimic what they see, not to be repetitive. But they're trying to mimic opposed to building a foundation and learning things before jumping far ahead, right? But to me, it's real simple. I tell everyone, your step with your front, back legs for stability, drop your back knee to lower your body, okay? Put as little weight as possible on it on the way up, drive off that front foot.
And maybe that's the misconception when you say drop the back knee. People are thinking like the back knee also has an action. Not saying you're wrong for explaining it that way, but like maybe that's how it's explained pretty universally. And people think then like drop back knee, get back knee up, which would be moving
For sure.
would be moving that back leg. And I was just hearing
But that's why I follow that with drive off the front
Right.
foot, you know?
Sure.
Because I think that a lot of people, especially like, were you watching somebody do just a stationary lunge or were they doing a walking lunge?
This example was stationary.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
I feel like with a walking lunge, a lot of people
For sure.
literally
Even
they just try
easier.
and keep
Yeah.
that bounce going. And that's why I'm no. Start with that front, plant it, drop that back to just
Right.
lower yourself in position, drive from that front to bring the other forward. You know?
No, now I see it every time I see a walking lunge happen because that's what everyone's doing during a walking lunge. It is much harder during a walking
They're
lunge.
just staying on that toe and just bouncing,
Yeah,
tiptoeing across.
it's hard to completely eliminate the back leg while doing a walking lunge because the back leg does have an action of then kicking forward and
sure.
getting in front of it. So
It's
like
got to follow through.
yes. So now I see it every time I see a walking lunge, but then it's also I'm picking it up when I see somebody do a box step up, and I'm watching them after their foot comes down. The driving force should be the foot that's up on the box. They're bouncing off that bottom foot that's hitting the ground and catapulting themselves back up into the air to finish the drive with the top foot. And it's like, well, no, that's half of the movement. You just neglected the fact that you were at complete knee flexion at the bottom of the movement.
And you neglected the fact that now you're taking, depending on the client, 150, 200, whatever your body weight
on
is.
a weight off.
And just throwing all of that weight onto your Achilles and trying to spring back up.
Sure.
Sorry, desk.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? I
Easy.
was getting that spring motion.
I get
you
it.
know?
But you're right. You're also adding more stress and
Yeah.
onto your back leg.
You're
that's now
adding
trying
unnecessary wear and tear.
that's trying to bounce, but then also at a very crucial point in the exercise where you're at complete knee flexion towards the bottom of the movement, now you're just using your back leg as a spring to essentially not need your knee to be in flexion.
No, you're basically doing the gravitron.
Gravitron.
That's what they call the assisted pull-up machine. It's a gravitron.
Oh, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was what they called it. Yeah, kind of. You're like
You know what
using
I mean?
a
You're just
gravitron.
trying to literally just decrease the load, but that defeats the entire purpose of that step up.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make a quick PSA about that. Like, if you're doing a single leg exercise, please just take a step back or slow yourself down for a second and think.
Or a step forward.
Depending
See what I
on which
did there?
direction we're going. Yeah. Say, is the force of my movement, the drive coming from my planted foot? And if it's not,
You're doing it wrong.
you're doing it wrong. Maybe you should like reassess things a little bit. Slow it down. Drop the weight. Figure it out. Like take a couple steps back. Learn the movement over again to where you are feeling the load on that front planted leg.
And yes, you're doing more weight, but you're going to feel it way more, and you're going to get way more benefit. And guess what?
Absolutely.
Probably not hurt yourself as easily.
Yeah, dude. It's pretty crazy. But that's just a general rule of thumb for all exercises. We see this in the gym almost every day.
Well-
You get hype lifting, you get caught up in the moment, and it's fun moving weight. We've both been there. It is fun moving weight, but to be optimal
Yeah,
or
man. Ask Rick Ross.
he moves kilos. I've heard
It's weight, dude.
it is weight.
It's weight.
It's easy to get caught up in ego lifting and just having fun and watching lifts go up. And sometimes we move weight that we probably shouldn't be moving because we're not actually recruiting the muscles we're trying to work. We're just physically moving a load, which has a time and a place, but not on a consistent basis in my
And I think people
opinion.
get too caught up in exactly that, just trying to move weight or trying to complete an exercise or trying to finish the entire workout without forgetting the actual purpose behind why am I doing this movement specifically, right?
Yes.
What is the benefit of this movement? Why is it in my program?
Right.
Whether a coach wrote it for them, whether they decided to do it themselves, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? And based on how you perform that, you could be defeating the entire purpose of it.
Mm-hmm. We know that
just because you're going through a motion doesn't mean you're benefiting from that motion.
Yeah. I don't want to make this entire thing about training because we just talked about training, I guess, but we didn't really talk about form and training. We just talked on creating a split.
We call it training 101.375.
Yeah. Execution means just as much as the actual exercise selection. There are so many different...
I think it actually means more than exercise selection.
Yeah. I think there's so many different ways to do the exercises we all love to do that will change the entire...
purpose of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like our... Man,
we've said it so many times.
Right.
You need to train with intent.
Right. But sometimes maybe people don't understand what training with intent means.
This
because
is what
we see people that will do a leg press and be like, "Oh, I'm doing this for this. Like I'm targeting this or I'm doing this." And
I'm trying to hit hamstrings, so I have a low narrow stance, but I loaded the weight and all the way into the back of the leg press.
Yeah,
try again.
Yeah,
try again.
Or even when it comes to a barbell squat, or as we're so lucky to have a Rogers squat, and we're seeing somebody squat with a certain type of stance within a Rogers squat, and I've been asked, "Hey, am I doing this right?" And it isn't doing it right and wrong.
Well, what are you targeting?
Right. What are you working out today?
Are you trying to mimic a good morning, or are you trying to mimic a squat? Because you could utilize this machine for many different movements, right?
Right. My first question when I hear that is normally, are you training quads or are you training hamstrings?
Yeah.
What are you training today? Because that'll tell me which way you should be or shouldn't be doing it. And that doesn't mean, that there's still other variables that come into effect. But just plain and simple,
what is the purpose of this?
What's the goal today?
Yeah.
Are we looking for knee flexion or are we looking for hip flexion?
Big difference.
Which one? I just need to know. And then I can...
But that's the problem, though. And again, not to make this all about training, so I think we're going a lot into detail at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't think people really understand the difference. To us, it's very, very, very obvious, right? Mm-hmm. Knee flexion, hip flexion, right? I don't think a lot of people understand that. I don't think people realize that just the positioning is going to totally change the focus of that movement.
Right.
Most people don't feel what they're actually working out because they never learned how to actually work out properly. All right, they learned how to move weight.
Then while we're on the topic, we'll dig into this just slightly.
Dude,
without repeating too much.
This is getting dark here, right?
It is very dark.
Yeah.
I love the hack squat, and I love the hack squat. I mean, I don't. I utilize it. I hate it, but I also love it.
You love the benefit of it. You hate actually the process of doing it.
There are times in which I'll have my clients do a higher and wider stance on the hack squat.
Okay.
I'm doing that for a specific reason for my clients. Even though I do know there's not an optimal benefit from doing a high and wide stance on a hack squat. And for those that are wondering what I mean by that, I mean that because you can't hinge at the hip on a hack squat because your back is flat with a brace and a pad, you're not hip hinging. You are reducing the amount of knee flexion by having your stance higher and wider, which could potentially target more hamstring.
Correct.
But it's still technically the idea of a hack squat would be to keep your back flat, minimize hip flexion, maximize knee flexion. So even though I've done this with my clients before, right? I'm a big fan of this little superset where I make them go narrow, make them go wide type of thing, right? It gets a little extra volume out of them. I trick them sometimes.
Trick of the trade.
Yeah. But that can translate into other exercises as well, just like a leg press, right? Guess what? Your back's flat on a leg press. And you might think, I'm supposed to do high and wide press for hamstrings on my hamstring day on the leg press. And it's yes, you can. Is it really the most optimal way to train your hamstrings?
No.
Probably not, because you are minimal to very, very little, or 0 to very little hip hinge while hack squatting, while leg pressing. And there can be some, don't get me wrong, there are people who alter the way that they leg press and they get their hips up a little higher and they do this thing. Like I'm not speaking in absolutes, but it's not the most optimal to do that. And the biggest example of that is talking about like a good morning or a stiff-legged deadlift, an RDL, and you talk about a movement in which you have a slight bend in your knee, but you're not prioritizing the bend in your knee. You're prioritizing the flexion of your hips backwards, which is why I've heard us both say it when we're teaching someone to do an RDL, we tell them push those hips back until you're touching the wall behind, as if you're trying to make your butt touch the wall behind you, because that's the primary focus.
I just pretend John Stamos is behind me.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
John same size. That's the primary objective for like hamstring training. Like obviously there's hamstring curls that can be done, but
that's isolation movements. Yeah.
Yes. So that goes into different exercises as well, as we've heard on one other podcast that we listened to. Actually, I don't know if you heard that one.
I've heard them all now, dude.
Oh, you're caught up?
I'm way past you.
Oh, good. Because I'm behind. I got
a longer drive to work than
I don't say what I just said to tell someone not to hack squat with a wider stance. I'm not saying that to completely eliminate the exercise from your repertoire, right? Because I do think there's a number of people that overthink they're training too much. And by me saying that, they're going to be like, oh my God, a high and wide leg press has been in my hamstring day for 2 years. Now I have to get rid of that and do something else? Nope, it's fine. Not saying
that whatsoever. That is okay.
Yeah. Maybe it shouldn't be a priority. Maybe it should be an accessory movement that you throw in.
I've very often thrown it in mine personally, okay? But not for the sole focus of hamstring, right? But I guess we can get into that, a whole different topic, so never mind. I'm not even going to do it.
But this isn't just about leg training. This can go for back training as well. This can go for, and the other point I was going to make was about doing like a lat pull down and keeping your elbows in front of you. I think a better example is if you're doing it like underhand, right? Okay. Keeping your elbows in front of you and pulling directly down and completely just engaging your lat, primarily your lower lat in this movement. And then switching that slightly to where you're leaning back a little more and you're almost rowing the weight down to yourself and kind of targeting different muscle groups. Still the same exercise, but targeting different muscle groups. What are you doing a lat pull down for? Just like how...
Exactly. What is the focus of this movement specifically? And how is it... It has to make sense to how your entire workout is set up. Plain and simple.
What other exercises have you done?
Yeah, exactly.
Target different muscle groups.
That's what I meant by that. Like, what else have you done and what do you plan on doing the rest of the workout based on what is the focus of today's workout?
Right. I don't say this to tell someone not to do one of these exercises. If you want to do a high wide leg press, do a high and wide leg press. Yeah. If you want to do underhand lat pull downs, do underhand lat pull downs. That's fine.
But you have to make sure that you're still targeting the focus areas properly in the other areas of that workout.
That would be, yes. And full circling this back.
You don't know how to lunge.
To that would be still understanding not only how and why you're doing an exercise, not understanding what muscles you're trying to target, but then also understanding why, how you're supposed to actually execute the exercise on its own. Because we've both thrown, I think we've discussed this before with Bulgarians, but we've both thrown lunges into a quad day, and they've gone into both. So there are ways to force and maybe target one or more than the other. But at the end of the day, if you don't know how to lunge,
you're not benefiting on either.
You're out of luck. You're out of luck.
Yeah.
Right. Just like if you didn't know how to hack squat and your back keeps coming off the pad, regardless of your feet are narrow, your feet are wide, this and that, you're not performing the exercise right. Nope. So it doesn't matter anyway. But figure out how to do the exercise And then why are you doing the exercise? I've just been seeing a lot of it.
I get it, man.
And I wanted to throw some little tidbits out there for people so they can also understand.
Hey, tune in for Training 105.
I didn't mean this to be another college thing or specifically a training thing. I just wanted to, I've been seeing
I think it's a very valid point.
Been seeing it in the gym.
I mean, it makes me want to talk about it more. We really won't do it, though. But real quick.
Yeah.
I know you said you wanted to move on from training.
It's fine. What do you want to talk
While
about?
on the topic.
Sure.
What would you say is the most incorrectly done exercise that you continuously see in a gym? Would it be a lunge?
I think currently, because I saw it, now I'm just seeing lunges done incorrectly all the time. Do you have one already? Or are you just curious and asking me?
I kind of got one, but it's kind of like a curveball. And maybe I should say it. Maybe I shouldn't
literally
say it.
As
it might lead to a wholly different conversation.
As I'm moving from like body part to body part, I'm like shoulders, upright row, like I'm like picking one for each and everything, and I'm like, man, there's people like I see people do a lot of exercises incorrectly, and bodybuilding is a feel sport. It is. So just because we're saying that I might see somebody doing something incorrectly, I say that maybe because I have a basic understanding of biomechanics and form for certain exercises, but that doesn't mean every single specific person I see doing something
textbook form. No.
Right. Every single person I see doing something not textbook form is doing something wrong.
There's still general rules to follow.
Yes.
Right.
But somebody might feel something a different way. So, man, maybe. I don't know, man. That's hard. Just one or the most?
The most.
I see a lot of bad single arm rows.
There's a lot of bad single arm rows.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
One guy talks about how the lat is a muscle that wraps around the body, and then everybody thinks you can just.
One guy ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, dude. Like
one guy.
I do see a lot of bad those, but like I said, now every time I think of a different exercise, I think of our different body part. I'm imagining there's a different exercise for each one that I unfortunately see done
incorrectly.
Yeah.
I guess.
What was yours?
Mine's a form of exercise. It's not an exercise in specific. Oh. Cardio.
Oh. You know, it's a question I hate about cardio.
I'm sure I do, but go ahead, fire it off.
What setting do I go on? Or like, should I hit the fat burn one? Or
and that's what I mean though.
Or as coaches, this is something you and I can relate to, and maybe our listeners
I think we relate to all of this.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're doing the podcast.
We relate to it more than our listeners might. Okay. Is when
Nudie Magazine Day.
Yeah. When I'll write out like
do you know what that's from?
X amount of Nudie Magazine Day.
Nudie Magazine Day.
Billy Madison.
Yeah, nice job. Okay. All right, as we lay out what?
Say we write in a program, 30 minutes miss cardio post-workout. And I'm really good at parentheses, medium intensity, steady state. And then I'll also say,
I take it.
I keep going. I'm like,
heart rate.
Some people, I'll put stairs. Some people say walking on an incline treadmill. I'll be like walking in incline treadmill, comma, because English. This means not a crawl and not a sprint. Get your heart rate elevated and keep it there for the right. I'll give this whole little breakdown depending on what the person says, and then the first question back will be like, which setting do you want me to put it on?
Manual,
and then play with it and get to where you need
you need to be, not where the machine thinks you need to be.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong. Do they obviously put those settings on the cardio machines for a reason? For sure. They would, if they were useless. For sure. They wouldn't put a fat burn or a hill climb or a this or that. They wouldn't put those things on there.
But
Cardio does get done really, really.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I see a ton of people. I don't care, lifestyle client, bodybuilding client, whatever, right? And well, first and foremost, most blow off their cardio. But for the ones who are actually doing their cardio, and if you're a competitor, you better be doing your cardio. Well, everybody, but you know what I mean.
Heart health, keep your ticker going.
If I'm giving you lists, miss, hit, whatever, like you, I give specifics, okay? Low intensity steady state, moderate intensity steady state, high intense interval training, whatever, right? I give you that, and I give you where your target heart rate should be, okay? Do you know how often I see people in the gym literally either just fucking barely moving, whether it's stairs, treadmill, what have you, okay? That's my one. All right?
Nice.
Or just cranking it out. And I'm like, dude, you got fucking 40 minutes of cardio.
And they're just running.
Why are you moving like this?
Running
I
on
got to
the
go over, hey,
stairs.
buddy, slow it down. And they're like, oh, I thought you want to see me work hard, you know? Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
of
I want to
course
see you do what you're supposed to
Right.
be
I want to
doing.
see you work hard,
you know?
but in the exact parameters in which I gave you, because that's how I wrote everything
There
down.
is purpose, and that's what got me on this, right? Like, just like doing Ghost again.
No, I think I saw.
Tune into episode 2 where we talk about paranormal
I
activity.
think I'm dehydrated and I saw a squiggly line.
Yeah, probably. Drink more water, dude. But just like training with intent and having proper form and technique in your strength training movements, right?
Yeah.
To actually benefit the way you're supposed to from that movement.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that the way that you do your cardio makes a very big difference in your actual result.
No, I get it.
Like, I think that is something that is very, 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 very misoverlooked.
I agree. I don't want to hone on this too much because we have once before talked about intention is everything in our episode. Intention is everything. But it's so true. How can you not bring it back up or not talk about it? And that's a very common thing too. I'm glad you actually kind of said that. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more?
Cardio?
Or can I veer?
You can veer off. All I'm saying is like the intent behind it makes a big difference in the result, right?
Absolutely.
So whether we're talking about just making sure that you're not going to a catabolic state, which for those who don't know, that means basically eating away muscle tissue, right? Which I don't think a lot of people understand can happen from cardio, but whole nother topic. We'll get into that one day. We'll have a whole cardio.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's also not that easy either. I don't want to hear after 5 minutes like, Coach, I'm burning. Coach, I'm burning my fat off. Like, no.
But I just think that people just think, oh, well, I'm supposed to do miss. So like I can sit here and I can have a 45-minute or 60-minute conversation with a person next to me and like just literally just walk through the park. Like, no, you should be getting your heart rate up. I mean, granted, depending on the kind of shape you're in, maybe you could hold a conversation. I know you can do miss and you can hold a convo.
No,
right?
I will be the first to actually tell you. I was going to say that I can play a 90-minute soccer game and be exhausted and run the entire time or whatever, however long I never tracked it. I don't know how far I run. When I do my miss cardio, I enjoy talking to people because it makes the time go by a little faster.
But you're dying.
But I'm huffing and puffing.
Yes.
Because
you should still be huffing and puffing.
Yeah, because I'm trying to talk while I'm gasping for air. So obviously I'm going to huff and puff a little bit. It shouldn't be a leisure stroll that I can just casually have conversation with and like not. It matters. That's not fat. That's not enough. What I was going to say.
Bring it back now, y'all.
This is what you just said was great.
Everything I say is pretty great.
Bodybuilding is so. I might get crucified.
Don't cry.
So black and white. Like we just talked for the past. It's racist. The sport is
bodybuilding is racist. Black people do better at it. White people suck.
They just look better for some reason. So we've been talking for 34 minutes, right? Minus Billy Madison, Napoleon Dynamite, and...
We didn't say any Napoleon. Oh, Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico, dude. We did.
Forgot about that guy, dude.
besides some of those quotes, we've been
I
talking
gotta
about.
crack my neck. I'm listening to you though.
Okay, we've been talking about the intention behind certain things. At first, it came from people not understanding how to do a lunge right and teach yourself how to do a lunge, and then it turned into understanding why you're doing certain leg exercises and which thing you're supposed to target. Like, right, that all kind of came back to intention. And I didn't want to hound on intention because we have done an episode on intention before.
Yeah, you said that.
But that really just drives home the point again that like bodybuilding is so simple, but you have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Like it is so like we can end up doing 1,000 episodes of this podcast, and I guarantee we'll talk about intention again. We'll talk about balance again. We'll talk about training again. I'll have to go over again about a lunge at some point. I'll have to talk about hip hinge and quad extension, like knee flexion at some point again. We're going to have to tell people why jasmine rice is a preferred rice that we eat again. We're going to talk about why we restrict calories and prefer cardio.
And take drugs.
Yeah. We're going to talk about all those things over and over and over again, because
that's what bodybuilding is.
As individual as of a sport as it is, there is a blueprint to this. And I think when we see these things that cause us to bring up a topic and discuss this, and you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong, I think it's so
wrong. I'm
wrong? Okay. I'm still going to keep saying it. But when we see people doing something that we might not agree with, but we know that they're trying to bodybuild, whether they're competitive or not. You're doing an exercise to bodybuild. Like,
correct.
There's a bodybuilding aspect to doing a certain exercise. You're building that body part up. There is such a blueprint to it. And like, yeah, of course there are new handles that, like, when we first started, mag grips weren't a thing, right? Now most gyms have mag grips, which are like pretty cool. And that's like a tool that has been brought into the bodybuilding world in recent times that actually is pretty effective. Yeah. You get a little bit less forearm grip out of it because you can't really fully put your thumbs around and whatever, right? So this whole thing, like, very smart invention. Cool. We learned from that. We moved on. But like, there are still just very basic blueprints to bodybuilding that don't ever change. And like, we're gonna repeat ourselves, dude. And that's okay.
That's okay. And I think that, like bodybuilding being repetitive, okay? I mean, it's a monotonous sport. We've gone over that as well, right? Like, we as coaches have to be repetitive. This stuff has to be instilled in our minds and in our clients' minds.
Until it's habitual.
There are things that I still have to remind myself about, and I've been doing this for, almost 20 years at this point. You know, like... I've literally been in a gym now for 20 years, okay? And there are still some things that I'm like, oh, yeah, this is why I'm fucking doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay that we're repetitive. So there's going to be some episodes where you guys are like, oh, shit, like, we already talked about this. But there's a reason. All of these things are very, very important, and it's very, very easily overlooked. You know?
Yeah.
Something as simple as walking on a fucking treadmill is continuously done wrong by people who've been doing this for year after year after year. A lunge is a very, very, very basic, and I would call a staple exercise in a lower body exercise program, right?
Yeah.
And it's still something that is done wrong all the fucking time.
To be a good bodybuilder, all you have to do is perfect 3 things: eat, sleep, and train. And that sounds so simple, and it is, and it is that simple.
It is that simple.
But yet, we, like you just said, we get people who are like, well, I only slept 3 hours last night. I'm not so sure why I feel so bad today. It's like, well, duh, dude. You didn't sleep.
You didn't rest.
Or like, my workout sucked.
You didn't recover, which recovery is one of the most important things in bodybuilding,
which is why eating is so like, and it's like, it all goes hand in hand. I missed 2 meals yesterday, and my workout sucked today. And it's like, you missed
you're functioning off of a decent amount of calories missed that your body is used to functioning off of.
Right. Or you know what? I skipped my cardio today, and then it was hard to eat my meal. Well,
you burned less calories. Your body's requiring less fuel.
Right. Like, and it's just
simple fucking math.
Yeah, and there's going to be so many times that we repeat ourselves, and some of you might
we're repeating ourselves about repeating ourselves.
Right now we are.
Yeah.
Some of you might not like that, but that's the reality of the sport. I hear that like bodybuilding's changing all the time. Like, it's really not.
It's not. It is not.
Like I said with the mag grip,
Social media is changing all the time, right?
Yeah.
It is changing some things that you may view about bodybuilding. It is changing what is shown and what is surfaced to the public about bodybuilding, right? But bodybuilding itself and what is required to be a good bodybuilder has never changed.
yeah.
More information is accessible, good and bad, right? But what it takes to build your physique, science doesn't change. Math doesn't change.
No. And like I said, like have little things come out and been cool tips like a mag grip. I don't know why I'm so stuck on that.
But that's not changing it. That's assisting.
You're still doing a pull down or a row with the exercises.
The
are
movement
exactly
itself
the same.
is still there.
You just now
this
have
is just
cool
something making it a little bit easier.
Yeah, cool little handle.
Yeah.
A converging chest press is a really cool piece of equipment that has come along in recent years, but you're still
doing a chest press.
Yeah, it's just a cooler, newer machine to it. So like it's if you're hearing it now, you're going to hear it again, and then you're probably going to hear it again and again and again,
and maybe again,
and then maybe one or two more times.
And maybe it's from us, maybe it's from somebody else, maybe it's from a buddy in the gym. But the point of the matter is, you need to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and you need to understand that this is monotonous. It is going to be a repetitive thing.
Yeah.
And if you're not looking to do the same shit over and over and over and constantly perfect it, and once you think it's perfected, perfect that perfection, then you probably don't love bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that I love about it. Again, like I said, I've been working out now for 20 fucking years. And I still like that I can get better at a chest press.
Yeah.
I can get better at a squat. I can get better at a lunge.
Yeah.
Because I am, as my body grows and changes, and as I watch, right?
Yeah.
I can feel and adjust more and more and more to get more and more out of every single movement that I do.
Absolutely.
I literally,
and
I told you yesterday, right? Or was it, what day is today? Wednesday? Yeah.
Today's Wednesday.
So Monday, okay, I told you this yesterday. Monday, I ended up doing 3 exercises for lower body because that's just what happens in life, right?
Yep.
I had people coming up to me. I had a machine break. I had, whatever, whistling while I work, right? My legs are so fucking shot today because I knew that my workout kept getting interrupted. So when I was doing those movements, I was like, okay, I am on a time crunch. I am going to get the most I possibly can out of this fucking movement. But if I didn't know how to train with intent, that would never be able to happen.
Yeah.
I probably had 25 minutes collectively out of an hour plus workout, right? Of actually working out.
Yeah, but that's actually pretty common.
You know what I mean?
Technically, if somebody worked out for an hour, you have to assume half of the time they're not working out because they're taking a rest.
Okay,
but yes, sorry.
You know what I mean?
Sorry.
Usually, I would have done more workouts. The first one or two movements would have been
the mathematician
would have been warm ups, right? You know, like I literally was like, boom, 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 done. Like, gotta go, right?
Right.
And my legs are more fucked up now because I had to put more thought behind it. I had to put more intent behind it because I'm like, okay, now I know that I have to be out of here at a certain time and I got to fucking go. How can I maximize efforts right now?
Yeah.
And that's bodybuilding.
How can I get the most out of this?
You need to be able to walk into every training session, making sure that you are getting the most out of each and every session.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's very true.
Yeah, man.
While you were talking about that, I thought back to what we talked about with, I think it's a good and a bad thing that this is how it is. You know how I said that, like, you don't need athletic ability to be a good bodybuilder?
Yeah.
You don't. And you can still practice things, whether you are an athlete or not an athlete. You can practice these movements,
Correct.
Use intention, and get better at these things. Do you think that is a good thing for bodybuilding or a bad thing? And here's what, before you answer. Actually, answer first, then I'll tell you what my caveat is.
Word the question again.
Is it a good thing that bodybuilding doesn't need athleticism? or is it a bad thing?
I don't think there's a right answer to it. Okay?
Yeah.
But I'll give my opinion.
Tell me.
Okay? And again, it's an opinion.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay. So, man, I don't
It's okay if you hurt feelings. Just answer the question.
I don't think it's a good thing.
I don't think so either. You want to know my response or my reason why? Or do you want to tell me yours first?
Because I'm going to vent. So go ahead.
I think that,
I hope you're going to say what I'm thinking.
yeah, I think I am. There's a vetting process to all things in life. You are good at something or you are bad at something.
That's what I was going to get at. Everyone thinks they could be a bodybuilder.
I do not
I got
play
a perfect example for you. Go ahead.
in the NBA because I am 5'6.5" and white.
And that half means everything.
So it is not.
Is the NBA racist?
No, I just figured
Tony Kukoc
was probably over 6'8".
Hey,
Maybe over 6'6". I don't know how tall he was. It was both the whiteness and the shortness. It's like a double negative, which should be a positive, but not in this
Cancels
situation. So
all the young
I'm
guys are
not-
like, who the fuck was Tony Kukoc?
everyone should know who Tony Kukoc is. I'm not meant to be good at basketball.
Ming, dude.
Doesn't mean I can't practice the sport of basketball, love the sport of basketball, get good at basketball enough to enjoy playing it. Not what I'm saying. I realized as a freshman in high school,
I'm fat.
I was fat. And in a freshman in high school, I was like 4'11". So that was a really bad,
Well, this made the sport for me, guys.
really bad combination for me to be good at basketball. I'm fat. I'm really, really short. And yeah. So, but that was the vetting process. That was me going, okay, I'm not meant to be good at this sport, right? Or I'm not meant to play this sport. That's fine. Do I still play basketball sometimes? Yeah, it's fun. I like the game. It's enjoyable.
White chocolate.
Doesn't mean downtown.
Let it rain.
I feel like, and that I'm just using basketball as an example, but you could use this for any profession. Like, I'm not an accountant for a reason.
You don't file taxes.
I don't file taxes.
Joking.
No. But
Anyone listening?
I'm not a chemist for a reason. I'm not any of all these things, right?
You once did put liquid paper on a bee.
It died. So with bodybuilding not needing athleticism, I think sometimes it gives everyone the idea that they can be a professional bodybuilder, which I love the idea of building the sport of bodybuilding
I don't.
and drawing attention to it. This is another argument. Not to be mainstream like the other sports.
I don't care if
But
it's mainstream. If it's mainstream from the right people.
Right. I mean, like, just bringing attention to the sport as a whole. People respecting, like, wow, look at that physique.
But I think that everyone thinking they could be a professional bodybuilder is not respecting the sport.
No,
that's just like...
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I would love for people to like, wow, look at that. This is such an account. Like, those guys work so hard. This is whatever, right? Like, just like they look at a basketball player, not saying, wow, I could do that too. That's not what I'm following. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I would love for people to, when they see somebody play in the NBA and they see somebody dunk, people don't watch that guy dunk and then say, I can dunk too. I'm going to go to the gym for a year and then I'm going to dunk. No one does that. No one goes to an NBA game, watches someone dunk and goes, I'm going to train and do that.
I used to do that, dude.
No. So, like, but you know what I mean? No one
exactly
goes and watches Brett Favre throw a touchdown.
You still play?
No.
Oh.
And
I was like, wait, hold on.
And they're like, I'm going to go do that. Or goes to an IndyCar race and it's like, you know what? I want to race that car. I think I could do that.
Nope.
Those kids are like racing those cars when they're like,
race your Nissan Sentra.
those kids are racing those cars from like age 6, right? They're like,
or younger.
They're trained to do that their entire life to make it there, right? Like, bodybuilding not needing athleticism, unfortunately, allows for a larger community and it allows for more inclusiveness to like, come, you could do this too.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a crazy vertical. You don't need to have a super fast 40-yard dash. You don't need to be able to run a sub 5-minute mile. You don't need any of those things, and you could still be great at this. But it definitely doesn't mean you are going to be great at this. It just means you still potentially could be great at this.
Sure.
It allows for too much. What's the word I'm looking for?
Mockery.
I don't think that was the word.
That's where I'm getting at.
You're going to mockery. I don't think that's the word. I overall think it is relatively more negative than it is positive.
And that's where I was getting at when I said that it's opinionated, right? My philosophy on it is I wish there was more athleticism that went into it because like everything that you just went on, I'm not going to hone in on it again, but I think that there's too many people bodybuilding at a competitive standpoint who should not be competitive bodybuilders, right? For many reasons. One, they're making these shows go way too fucking long and wasting my goddamn time, right?
When you say competitive, are you saying like national and pro level or regional level?
No, even the regional level, okay?
Okay, so competitive in the sense of you're getting on a stage bodybuilding.
Yep. There's people who should not step foot on a fucking stage, and they do it. And they make these shows go from something that should be a 2-hour prejudging to a 4 or 5 hour prejudging. Like, we don't need that.
That's actually, and some people are going to hear that, and they're going to be like, how dare Greg say that?
Don't care.
Hold on. Another analogy, then I'll let you continue.
Yeah, cut me off. Go ahead.
Never played soccer before? There's adult soccer leagues every day. Would you join the league that I play in that's all ex-college players? Or would you join like the, hey, let's have fun and just kick a ball around?
Let's have fun and kick a ball around.
There's leagues for that in bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's called the OCB.
And
Did I say that?
No, but there are these other organizations that put on shows that are transformation challenges and this and that, which like I think are amazing for what they do. I've been to those shows and they make those people feel like it's the best day of their life.
Yeah.
Awesome for them.
And great. Bucket list. I want to get in the best shape of my life. Awesome.
Absolutely.
The NPC.
Right.
Okay. Who is saying, hey, I'm trying to work hard to get to the IFBB.
100%.
Which in bodybuilding is equivalent to the NFL and the NBA and et cetera, right?
Yes.
My point is some of these people are making a mockery of it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I don't even mean that in an asshole way.
No.
I mean, they're being an asshole to the people who are really trying to take this serious, right?
Correct.
And they're making it seem, like you said, that everybody can just try it and get on stage and it should be a bucket list thing. That is not bodybuilding. A lot of people say bodybuilding is not a sport, and I get it because athleticism is not something that goes behind it, right?
Right.
But I do look at it as a sport. I think it's one of the fucking hardest sports out there to be the best. To be a bucket list competitor, sure, it's not, right? But to actually be the best in the world, it is one of the hardest because it takes some of the most discipline. I know pro hockey players. I know pro football players, okay? I had a buddy who played pro football until he got injured, right? And guess what those guys were doing after every practice and every game? They were going out, drinking, partying, and eating bad food, right? You can't do that as a bodybuilder. Year round, you are waking up at the same time. You are eating the same fucking meals, maybe portions changed. You are doing your cardio. You are doing your weight training. You are not skipping a fucking beat, right? Mm-hmm. There is a lot that goes into being a top tier bodybuilder, okay? And I think that the fact that athleticism is not a piece of criteria for it, that everyone thinks they can just do it, and it takes from what the sport should actually be. You know, and it.
Well, and it also it also oversaturates what someone who is trying to do it and get good at it is actually accomplishing.
Exactly.
Because now there are these different things, and this is probably again a very not heated or like a hot topic or whatever, but like potentially, I don't think a novice category should be a thing.
I don't either.
Personally, that's just my, again, we're talking about the NPC being the stepping stone for the IFBB, which means that it should be competitive level.
Correct.
Like
from a business standpoint, I get it.
100% I understand.
I get it.
Have it there.
As a fan of the sport, as a coach,
right?
I don't get it.
That's where I agree with your mockery standpoint, because somebody will enter a show as a transformation and do a novice category, or even some shows do true novice, which is like novice for novices.
Yep.
And they'll take home a 5th place or 3rd place trophy. And like, they'll be like, look, I did the same thing you did.
But
like this person who dedicated 5 years of their life and just took 2nd place in the open class and worked really, really hard to get there. And now they're going on the nationals because they want to, like, we're the same. It's like, well, no, we're not. That's just like me saying, again, using a sports analogy, like we both play in the men's league. Like we're the same.
No.
No. I played my entire life. I went to college to do this. Like, I take this very seriously. And you're like, yeah, like me too. Like I started playing last year. And like I play, me and my men's team, the Fire Flames, we got cool jerseys and like we're the same thing. It's like, no.
Wrong.
No, you're not. You would offend that person. And again, there's egos that go into this too. People get offended about a lot of things. Yeah. I'm trying to keep a bias from egos out of this. I just do think that
But I think that there's a bigger part to it as well. Okay. Not only is it making us have to be at shows longer, it's making judging harder because now classes have 30 fucking people when only maybe 15 should be there, right? Like there's a lot of that goes into play, right? Mm-hmm. But again, as a business standpoint, I get it. They're getting money, whatever, right?
We can maybe talk to our good friend Kate, who is a judge, about this one day.
Yeah, we can.
We could be like, hey, Kate, what are your thoughts? We didn't really get to pick her brain.
I already know her opinion, but we can do it.
Right.
We can
do it for the people.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get a chance to talk about judging too much with her. We picked on like criteria for like.
We more so talked about her and what she's accomplished.
Well, we asked about bigger guy or leaner guy. We talked about little things like that.
Yes,
but we didn't talk about.
We didn't really just dig into judging, right? But I think also like we've already talked about this previously. Like bodybuilding is not the healthiest thing from a psychological standpoint, from a physical standpoint. Okay. Just because you're exercising and weight training does not mean that you're necessarily being healthy. You are going to extremes. Yeah. Someone who's just doing this to say that they did it, I don't think they truly understand the risk that they're taking, right? So like, I think that certain coaches will just take anybody on, and that's a whole nother conversation about picking a coach and how to do that. And we should definitely have an episode on that.
Yeah.
But they're just doing it for a dollar sign, right? I literally just messaged a girl back today who said, hey, listen, like I want to do blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, someone told me to reach out to you. And I said, hey, listen, we're not the right fit, right? Like I'm not here just to take your dollar, right? Like I'll explain the whole situation later on.
Yeah.
But
talk about that off the air.
Yeah. Like there's a lot that goes into it that I don't think a lot of people are ready for. There's a lot of risk. Yeah. And they just see other people doing it and they want to look like that person or whatever, but they haven't done any of the legwork to really understand what it truly takes, right? Yeah. And that's where I just think that like if there was more athleticism that went into it, it would kind of eliminate a lot of that. But it is what it is. Bodybuilding is bodybuilding and you don't have to be an athlete to do that. But with that being said, okay, another podcast we listened to, not to kind of repeat them, but I'm curious because me and you have never really had this conversation, okay? The argument of, do you think it takes skill to be a bodybuilder? Athleticism is one thing.
It's tough.
But do you think it's a skill set sport?
It's tough because I've listened and I see both sides.
Well, I was trying to figure out which side you favored.
I don't really know if I do. If you would have asked me this maybe before I had listened to both sides,
the argument.
Now I really do. They both make compelling arguments, and now I really do see both sides to it, and it's not something I feel so strongly one way or the other way.
So I think that it takes skill from a mental standpoint way more so than a physical standpoint.
Sure.
I think that someone can learn how to do a squat. Again, the reason I jumped into this is because the beginning of our
athleticism or no athleticism.
Well, that and the beginning of our conversations, people have been doing this for years. They're still doing things wrong, right? But I think that they never cared about learning to do it right. If you work with the right coach or trainer and you learn how to properly squat, how to properly row, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? I think that it is easier for you to learn how to get the most out of a squat way faster than it is easier for you to learn how to be a high-level soccer player.
Yeah,
right?
I think the idea...
Mastering the movement, I think, is easier.
Right.
It's the mental standpoint, which is why I brought up my buddy who played professional football, right? Like, mastering the mental strength to give up family events, to stay on a diet year round, to do your cardio year round, to not miss your workouts unless you're fucking dying with an illness, right? Like, I think that is what makes it so much harder.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that skill is a mental skill.
And so here's my answer then. I think it's a skill, but as compared to some other skills, do I think it is as challenging of a skill? Not in a physical sense, but yes, in a mental sense.
So we agree.
So like it's a skill, but not really a skill. It's a skill in
I'm going to dedicate everything to this type skill.
Right. Just like how studying could be a skill, right? Some people might argue that and be like, it's not, you just have to do it, right? Like, no, I think you can skillfully study. You can be good at studying.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding is kind of like being a good studier. Like you
have to be a good student to be a good bodybuilder.
That's why I'm saying that. But you do. There's ways to like properly study or execute studying to be more efficient with your time. Like blah, 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 blah. Same thing with bodybuilding. There's ways to do things to get more out of your workouts, more out of your diet, more out of your training, and do things the right way.
100%.
Do I think any part of bodybuilding takes as much skill as throwing a curveball? Like not physical skill. No, not in any regard, right? That takes way more like actual skill, like just like, I don't know, kicking a field goal and with the pressure on you or this or that, all these things. Like those are more physical skills, 1000%. Bodybuilding does not have those kind of physical skills. It does have like mental skills though. Like I think
bodybuilding, the biggest skill is mastering yourself.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, emotionally.
Self-mastery, as some would say.
100%.
Dude, we got into too many topics too late in the podcast today. Because when we were just talking about business too, and then it made me think about, do you think there's a potential? Because you said it's good for business in bodybuilding, why they have novice, why they have this, why they have that, why people shouldn't do as many shows, and we understand why they do it for a business standpoint. Hear me out here.
I'm hearing you out, dude.
And I don't want to go too far into this because we're already at knee hurting, gotta pee time.
Okay.
Maybe the shows would make more money if there were only good bodybuilders on stage.
I don't think so.
I don't know. But think about a sporting event being an all-day event where you watched bad athletes first, and then randomly there was a good game, and then there was a bad game again, and then there was a good game. Do you think as many people would stay around the whole time?
I think that most people go to sporting events for food and alcohol.
Okay, so maybe a bad analogy. But I'm just thinking.
And that's the thing. Like, I know die hard football fans.
Yeah.
Who don't go to games.
No, I know.
They watch from their house.
Sure.
And I know people who don't give a fuck about sports, and they go to every baseball game.
And bodybuilding is different in the sense of you can't.
I know bodybuilders who they compete year after year, and they truly love bodybuilding, and they're very fucking good at it, and their own friends and family, because they don't understand it, don't go. I think it's still too, as big as it's gotten.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it's still very, very, very fucking small.
But
so I think that these
and I'm just being devil's advocate,
promoters, right? And I'm not talking bad about them, because from a business standpoint, I would be doing the same thing, right? But I think these promoters, they don't make much profit off these shows, so they need as many competitors as they can to make it worthwhile, right? Because even though they're doing it because they love bodybuilding,
absolutely,
they also need to not come up negative after every show they throw.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't end up red after putting on a show.
Exactly. And so like if it was just good bodybuilders, I still think that it would be the same people going to watch.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Because what if I do, and I'm doing this because I personally do this myself. I tell a lot of friends and family not to come to my shows.
Yeah, but that's because you're modest, you don't like the attention.
No, I tell them not to. And again, sorry, promoters. I don't do this maliciously, but I tell them like, listen, guys, I'm going to be on stage for 5 minutes, and you're going to sit there for at least 3-4 hours, and they know, and then they're kind of like, oh, well, like that's it. You can just take pictures and send it to me, right? If there was a way, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate. I know that
I entertained the entire show.
You're being entertained, and it's 2 hours of pure entertainment, and you're like,
that's the thing. Let's take your mom as an example, right?
Yeah.
Your mom's going there to see her son.
Yeah.
Your mom does not understand body, and I'm not talking shit about your mom.
No, but my mom
would go there to fucking support me.
Yes.
But my mom, your dad, my dad, they don't give a fuck about bodybuilding. They don't understand bodybuilding. But if there was better competitors the entire time, they'd still be like, oh, they had a bunch of guys in their underwear. They looked great.
No, I'll tell you this. The very first show my dad ever went to was...
He got a boner.
Nope. He said, God, a lot of those people were not in shape. He doesn't know nothing about bodybuilding.
But on the flip side, though, that might have been more entertaining for him.
Maybe, but the point was even
like
someone
Gangnam Style, dude. That guy was like, your dad was
remember
like,
him? He loves that guy. He asks about him all the time. He's like, is he still there? I'm like, Dad, I don't know the guy.
Yeah.
But do you know but do you understand the opposite point I am trying to ask? I still think it's right. I still think the best way to do it is the way that they are doing it. But do you know what I mean? Like maybe if it was like
I know
come
that
for this
me
2 hour
as a coach,
yeah,
I have to be at the show.
Yeah.
But I know I would be way more excited to be there all day long opposed to just excited for the classes my clients are in.
But again, I know
I think that bodybuilding is still so small that it's not going to bring in this plethora of just a new audience if the competition was higher. I think that maybe if it was more mainstream and it was put onto national TV and stuff like that.
But think about even that. Last year's Olympia, these guys didn't go on stage till 2 a.m. or something like that. That could have never gone on TV. Yeah. Think about if it was just 2 hours, just like a sporting event. Now this game is being televised, this bodybuilding event, and these are the best of the best. Watch them.
Yeah, but the Olympia is the best of the best.
I know, but it still took 19 hours to do the whole thing.
Exactly. And that's not with a bunch of fluff thrown in between.
I know.
We're talking about every competitor there was the best in the world.
But there's even more there's more weaning out to do, like...
Oh, okay.
So it will go from level to level. It would wean out at this level, then it would wean out at this level, then it would wean along the line.
Okay.
I still don't think...
You're saying even the Olympia would be a smaller amount of competition.
Yes.
Okay.
I still don't know I don't believe that it would actually work, but I'm just playing devil's advocate for...
Listen, dude, I'm going to call Jim Mannion tomorrow.
Imagine a world where maybe somebody would go and watch a bodybuilding event if they knew they're like, oh, it's 2 hours and I'm going to see good bodybuilders on stage. Cool. Or I'm going to pay for this ticket. I might sit for 4, 5, 6 hours. And I might
see 3 good people.
It's not the way to do it. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
And maybe you're right. Regardless, unfortunately, you don't know how to lunge.
Yep.
You don't train with intent.
Correct.
And you don't have to be an athlete to be a bodybuilder.
And
but you should train with intent.
The bane of our existence.
You should know how to lunge. And you should be somewhat of an athlete to be a good bodybuilder. On that note, this was nothing we wanted to talk about today, but I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yep, and give it 6 or 7 weeks where we talk about all these things again. All right, bye guys.
See ya.